We noticed something was a little wrong with one of his flippers, and he let us hold his flipper underneath an X-ray machine so that we could scan it. And that way we could take an X-ray. We saw that there was something not quite right inside. Nothing major though. He was on antibiotics for a couple of weeks, and now he's back to full strength. So that was really useful to have these behaviors. It made it much quicker and easier for us, and a lot less hassle for him. You may also have spotted then that we got them all to go in the water. As I said, it's not just vet training that we do this for. It's also nice natural behaviors, getting them chasing after their food, playing with their toys, swimming around, things they do out in the wild. Holding their mouths open like this is also really handy for checking their gums and their teeth. So if you do see inside their mouths, you'll see that they have got kind of brown, blackish teeth, which for you and me is not typically what you'd be looking for on a Colgate advert, but it's exactly what you want when you look inside their mouths, because that is the colouring that comes from eating all this fish. It's the oils from their food that turn them this colour, and it actually encourages healthy natural bacteria to grow in their mouth, and it's kind of like a natural toothpaste helping to keep their mouths clean. Now, as well as these, we can also get them to do layouts. That was 3 very different layouts. Did you ask for a normal one? Yeah, so Juan got it right, so Juan gets a reward. They're not rewarded for doing the wrong behavior. At the back there, Toro did a reverse layout. Pablo did some sort of side-on, like, jaunty thing that we've never asked for. But a layout is helpful because they lie flat for us. We can x-ray them, we can weigh them, we can feel all over their back for things like lumps and bumps, we can inject them or take blood, and we don't have to knock them out to do any of this. They'll just lie there, and as soon as we're done, they're on their way again. And this is really handy because they have what's called a deep dive response. So basically, they need to come up to breathe because they're a mammal. And it means that when they go in the water, so they can hunt for longer, they can slow down their heart rate, they can slow down their breathing, and this means they can stay underwater looking for food without having to come up as often. But under anesthetic, they can slip into this response, and it can be very risky and quite difficult to draw them out of it. So we avoid knocking them out wherever we can, and by doing this, it makes it much safer for them, much safer for us, and much quicker and easier as well. And a reverse layout, which is what Toro then did when he was asked for it, is very helpful for looking at their bellies, particularly handy with females so you can check if they're pregnant and see how things are going. The jaunty one is useful for nothing. Now, as you can also see, they are each in a specific spot. These are their stations, so we will always ask them to be in the same place for training. It lets us know that they are engaged and ready to do it. If they don't want to train, they don't have to. They can just go off and do whatever they want. It's not compulsory. It's just something that they can do if they'd like to. And as I said, we'll also get them doing natural behaviors too. So we saw them diving in there after their food. We can also get them to do things like jumps, where they'll come straight out of the water. Now, this is handy in the wild for a couple of reasons. First, it helps them to get away from predators. So they are a big hunter, but there are bigger, faster things out there, like orcas, and orcas will eat our fur seals in the wild, and they are quicker in a straight line, so our boys wouldn't stand much of a chance. So what they'll do is, if they're being chased, they jump out of the water, breaking the line of sight, try and land behind the orca, and make a getaway in another direction. But also, it's really good for showing off to the ladies. It takes a lot of skill and effort and strength to do these jumps, and at breeding season, it's a good way of competing with each other to try and get the attention of the females. So a nice, simple way of doing that. Now, one last thing I do quickly want to mention is exactly what sort of animal they are. So I've been calling them fur seals, and that's because they are not a true seal, and they're also not a sea lion. Whoever came up with the name really wanted to make this hard to explain. So a fur seal is more like a sea lion than it is a true seal. Just like a sea lion, they've got good upper body strength, so they swim with their front flippers, they can move fast on the land, they can catch you if you try and run away from them, so I wouldn't try it. And either side of their head, they've got a little flap where their ears are. True seals are like a big hairy slug on the land. They just flop about without any grace or dignity. And they've got a hole just either side of their head where their ears are. What makes a fur seal different to a sea lion is in the name. It's their fur. So sea lions have got a layer of blubber and then a layer of fur. Our boys here have 2 layers of fur. The outer coat is long and waterproof, and when they go in the water, it all joins together like a nice big sock, makes them really sleek and streamlined, and keeps them dry underneath. And that's because underneath they've got a thick, short layer of hair, and this is their undercoat, and it's really good at trapping warm air, and it's what keeps them nice and warm. And when they come back out onto the land, usually around their neck, you'll start to see the fur separating, and you can see pale, dry fur underneath, and that's their undercoat showing. Now with that, as they continue with their little bit of fish, I am going to wrap my talk up. If you've got any questions, just come over and ask. This is the last talk of the day, so thank you all very much for listening and for coming to visit us at the zoo today. We are a conservation charity, and you have helped us look after everything you've seen today, but also to work with endangered species in the wild. Starts right here in the southwest of England, goes out to places like Africa and Central America and East Asia, and has such a big impact that we couldn't do without you. So thank you all, and have a lovely afternoon. Cheers.